Do you know, it's funny you should mention that, actually, because I got on a plane in Dubai going to Australia, and who was in first class, or business class, actually, but Les Dennis.
No way.
And I wanted to say to him, if your hand luggage is up there, I'll give you the money myself, like I'll have family fortunes, but something stopped me doing it, so I just went, all right.
It's called decency, isn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, come on, let's get on with the podcast, because there'll be people waiting outside. And
yes, they're queuing around the block, socially distanced.
Come on, let's just pretend we're just doing it now.
Are we on? Oh, are we recording?
Oh, I've got a fur ball, hang on.
Of all the times.
Hello and welcome to the Comedy Slab podcast. I'm Shane O'Connor, he's Adrian Lacey. This is one of the most seamlessly edited together podcasts. In fact, it just sounds like a live show. That's how good we put this damn thing together. If you're not caught up with us before, I'm in the Midlands, he's down in the south of England. Not doing much of a job at protecting our borders, I have to say, but there is only him, so he's only got a broom handle, so, in fairness, it is a bit Dad's army, really. But every week we talk about comedy. We love comedy, don't we?
We do. That much is true, yeah. We can't agree on any of it, but we love it.
No, and it's weird, isn't it, that we both have this shared passion, but you're right, we don't. We haven't. I mean, if you listen back to the previous episodes of the Comedy Slab, you'll know that one of the things that we rarely do is agree, oddly enough. I do wonder whether people think, oh, is it all just like, is it put on? Do they just no.
Well, I haven't got the acting skills.
No, I haven't got the inclination, so...
No.
So no, it's just the way that it pans out. Anyway, basically what we do is that we will listen to or watch a comedy programme before we record the Comedy Slab podcast. We do it each week. I'll choose one week. Adrian will choose one the alternate week. And then we get together and we chat about the programmes and talk about what we like, what we didn't like, why we like the things we liked, why we weren't so keen on the things we weren't so keen on. And then we give it a mark at the end. And you can play along at home as well if you want to. If you want to shout out, it's behind you, something like that, then... it's your dime, innit, really? We also have a couple of clips that we'll play to give you a bit of a flavour for the show that we're going to be slabbing. Before we get onto that and do all that business as well, we like to just break the ice, have a bit of a chat about things that we've been up to and things that are happening in the world of comedy. I've got something to show you. I'm quite proud of this, actually, in all seriousness, but I thought I've got to show you because, and as you said, it's very exclusive, showing people when they're actually listening to the podcast. But it is a comedy line anyway. If I say to you, right, you ready? Have a look at my plums.
Oh.
Hey?
What fine plums.
Look at that.
That's not your damn son, is it? Your damn son.
Damn son. No, I have got some damsons as well in the garden. Yeah, look at no. I
Are they Victoria's or yours?
No, they're mine.
Hey.
I picked those from my plum tree in the garden. They say.
Well, it's not going to be on a banana tree, is it?
No, as opposed to I went to the shops and bought them. Look at the size of those.
Okay, yeah, I know. Impressive. Yeah. We should explain if it's not... Well, yeah, that's cheating. He's holding it right up to the camera. We're looking at each other via FaceTime. Your face, my time. No, that's another joke entirely. But yeah, look, if you hold anything closer, it's going to look bigger, isn't it?
Well, that's so juicy.
Juicy.
That's so juicy.
What do you say? I love Lucy.
Oh, this is so juicy.
Well, can you send me a couple in a jiffy bag?
Yeah, no
if they'll survive the long journey. Was it 170 miles, did we decide?
No, I've got
gibberish. Serves you right.
I'm going to swallow the stone then.
Yeah, well, you could have done with losing a stone. Did I say that out loud?
I think you did. I've got so many on the tree. I've got to actually get a step ladder to get the rest of them off now because they're all falling on the ground. The wasps are eating them, so... Oh, they're beautiful. Cover for me.
Right. Now, there is some story, is there not? I'm looking at a story here that I think we're in sync. Hopefully you've got the same page in front of you. Regarding, I nearly said Reeves and Mortimer. It's not so much that, it's Reeds and Mortimer, perhaps.
They should have called that, shouldn't they? That's brilliant.
They should have done. They missed a trick. Paul Whitehouse, along with Bob Mortimer, gone fishing kind of thing. And I assume you've seen one or two of these. Is that plum repeating on you by any chance?
No, do you know, I haven't seen any of it. weirdly. I've seen the trails for it, and I keep thinking, I must, and I'm never around to catch it when it's on. But you've seen it, haven't you? You've seen this thing.
I have seen. Well, am I a completist? No. So I've seen one. I'm trying to think if I've seen more than one. Probably not, because I'm a Unitarian, as regular listeners will know, as you swig your purple drink. But essentially, well, they found what they had in common, sadly, was they'd had heart surgery, each of them individually.
Right.
And, of course, a great thing, if you're coming back from that, is to stop it.
I don't think they do group heart surgery, do they?
I don't know. Maybe to save money, I could see a future NHS saying, well, look, we've only got enough money for 8 hearts. There's 9 of you.
We'll do you lot today, yeah. And one of you ain't going to make it, let's be honest. So
let's play musical chairs.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry, go on. So they've got heart surgery in common.
And as part of the recovery, you obviously want to minimise stress, and a great de-stressor under normal circumstances is fishing. So they have gone fishing, but with, of course, cameras following their every move. I think there's an interesting question here. Does it count as comedy? I thought you'd seen it. So there's only so far we can get with this discussion without you having seen the show. I don't quite count it as comedy. I count it as fact-ent, if you'll pardon the expression, factual entertainment.
Yeah.
It's a very pleasant watch, and it ticks along.
Is it very funny?
Well, no, because the thing is, writers are always undervalued, and I'm sure each of them, well, I know for a fact they each write their own material, but they don't, as far as one knows, this is largely ad-libbed. I mean, I don't take offence to them planning some of it, but actually the way it looks, and they've got to react to what's happening with the fish and so on, they are playing it for smiles, I would say.
Right, right.
And then the guys like each other, and it's a warm half hour. I wouldn't class it as comedy, and I wouldn't fall about laughing. But then I don't think anyone would make that claim for it.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think if you went to a commissioning editor and said, I want to make this program about 2 white blokes, one's 61, the other one's 62, and it's basically them chatting whilst they're fishing. I don't know if you get to the end of that sentence, would you really, these days? No. Because it doesn't tick any of the boxes, does it?
Well, but the point is they are names, aren't they? And that is the draw.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, well, I mean, for me it would be. I mean, it's something I say that's on my radar. But yeah, I'll have to. Maybe we should put it on the slab one of the days. And
does it qualify? This is the big question. Well, I suppose we won't know until we've done it, really.
Yeah, maybe that's the decision that you make at the time. And
look, if you offered it, I never resist.
That's what he says to all the girls, to be honest with you, isn't it? So if you offered it, I never resist.
As the manacles go on. I am putty in their hands.
You certainly are.
I think we should move on, don't you?
On with the show.
Hey!
Yeah, so we let me put you out your misery in case you're wondering what we're slabbing this week. I elected, because it was my turn, to choose something that was written by Craig Cash and Phil Mealey. I think we had the conversation at the tail end of last week's podcast, didn't we, about whether you knew who they were. I mean, Craig Cash, I think he's probably the most recognisable of the two, in as much as he played Dave the boyfriend in The Royal Family.
Yes.
And then kind of did, I think this, I forgot to have a look on the timeline. Did you have a look on the timeline? Which came first? Was this the chicken or the egg, this one?
Sorry. What, in terms of
early doors in the Royal Family?
Before Royal Family.
Yeah.
No, I think it's about 2004. Wasn't Royal Family? Anyway, maybe if you, Phil, while I look. Or we'll look during the first clip.
During the clip, yeah.
2 audio clips.
I think it might have straddled, because it was quite popular, wasn't it? The Royal Family had quite a few series, so maybe it straddled that, I don't know. Anyway, it matters not. Craig Cash and Phil Mealey got together, wrote this thing, directed by Craig Cash as well, the second series was, called Early Doors, set in a pub. I mean, it's as simple as that, isn't it, as far as the sit from the sitcom goes. And we'll talk about, I mean, again, is it a sitcom? Is it more of a character comedy? I guess we can talk about as things go on. But should we do a clip first, and then we can get into your headline, and then we'll get a flavour for what you thought of it, because you've never seen this before, had you? I think you come to this fresh.
Absolutely, fresh as a daisy.
I have to say, by the way, I chose this episode for the first scene, which was previously on Early Doors.
Okay, yes.
Which I thought was a bit of class. Again, we'll talk about that in a second. We are. I mean, it's set in the pub. I mean, that's it really. It's set in 3 rooms of the pub, the main lounge of the pub, the kitchen in the back, and the accommodation upstairs. Those are the 3 sets for the whole of the series, the whole of the 2 series.
Say? Sorry to dive in. Do they ever say where the pub is?
I don't think they do.
It's got to be Manchester area, has it not?
I would have said, Manchester, Bury, kind of Greater Manchester, somewhere in Lancashire, that kind of area. Because Manchester isn't in Lancashire anymore, is it? Because
it's its own Unitarian or whatever.
It's only
Unitary borough.
It's only watches one episode at a time when it does. So we catch up with quite a few of the characters in one go on this particular clip. Actually, we've got Joan and Eddie. Tommy, the curmudgeon, who sits at the corner, and whenever there's a round, he'll go, I'll stay on my own, thanks. Joe, one of the main characters, Tanya and Ken, the landlord, they're all in the lounge, chatting about various things, and they're suddenly joined by one of the other regulars, Debbie.
Oh, give us half a cider, please, Ken. I'm gagging. You having one, Tanya?
No, I'm all right. Ken's just got me one.
All right.
85, please, Debbie.
Just finished work, Debbie?
Yeah.
Kids in the car?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, give us 2 Cokes and 2 packets of cheese and onion as well, please, Ken.
Right.
Is Beryl back in work yet?
Yeah.
Her back's all right now then, is it?
I don't believe there were anything wrong with it in the first place. She's a hypochondriac.
I think you're probably right.
She were agoraphobic for 6 months, wasn't she? Till they had that chip pan fire at home, and then she were the first one out the house.
420, please, Debbie.
How's your mum coping with her bag, Joan?
All right, but she's a bit upset at the minute because she's just lost Fred, her tortoise. We were just telling these.
Don't ask.
Well, at least she's got all her other animals to keep her company, hasn't she? She loves her 2 cats, don't she?
Brooklyn and Romeo. Yeah.
Debbie's right, Joan. I mean, Dopey's handful on his own, isn't he?
Who?
Dopey, a little stray she took in. Oh, he's funny, isn't he, Joan?
Oh, yeah.
Dopey? What sort of a name's that for a dog?
It's a funny story, actually. He was only a little puppy when she found him, and we couldn't think of a name for him.
No.
But every time Eddie took it for a walk round her estate, all the kids would shout, "Hey up, here comes Dopey." And it just sort of stuck, didn't it, Eddie?
Oh, yeah, smashing kids.
It really caught on, it did. I only had to go to the shops on my own, and they'd be saying, "Have you not got Dopey with you?"
Did I accidentally give something away there by almost laughing?
I think you might have done.
I've got to watch that I don't blow my cover. Do you know, first time I watched this, the headline might have been Early Boars.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But second time things improved, not vastly, but no, actually more towards respect rather than huge chortles. And I can't think of a headline that goes with it or that rhymes in any way. I could have had Early Burly, or it was more of an early judgment, really, that was not as kind as I feel more inclined to be now. I'm going to have to carry on thinking about the second headline. But essentially, you talk about this previously on Early Doors, which is, you expect an upsum, as I believe they say in the States, of what's gone on in the first series.
Yeah.
And, car chases, explosions, bedroom scenes, all sorts. But actually what it is, it's virtually, in TV terms, it would be a locked-off shot with Ken, the landlord, and it's the curmudgeon you referred to, Tommy,
yeah.
isn't it, in the corner?
Yeah.
Who's like every pub's got one, hasn't it? The guy propping up the bar sort of thing. Or he sits on his own, actually. And Ken just says, "What, do you want another one, Tommy?" Or something like that.
There's about 15 seconds of Ken just eating crisps. And he goes, Do you want a crisp, Tommy? No tar. Straight away, he doesn't even let you finish the sentence. So no tar. He doesn't want anything off anybody. I mean, you're right, because these things nowadays, like previously on, they throw the kitchen sink at it, and I think that's become even more comical as a little throwaway.
It's lasted
sketch.
well, that gag, hasn't it? Yeah, as things get more dynamic, because there's so much more competition in TV. And can you imagine this series being picked up in the States? Do you think they'd ever make sense of any of it?
I think they would be desperate, and I'm not sure they would, because I'm not sure culturally they would understand it or be able to replicate. I don't think they've got an equivalent, but I suppose Cheers is their nearest thing, isn't it, to what the States would do?
It's on a different planet still, though, isn't it?
It is completely. It's a different universe, isn't it? It is.
I mean, they wouldn't understand the accents, the northern accents, for one thing, they couldn't get past that, and they probably think it was a documentary, a very straight-faced one.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I don't know. There's just something about that. I mean, that joke at the end, which you were stifling a titter, and I think rightly so as well. I was really pleased about that you did, because if you didn't like anything else in it, you've got Here Comes Dopey. They're talking about the film. They were talking about the Mark Benson, who's fabulous in everything that he does. My wife actually interviewed Mark Benson when he was touring in Hairspray. He was playing the John Travolta character, the one that is the mother. I tell you who did it in one of the films was Divine,
Oh, I remember. Yes, the later Divine.
Yeah, I think he was in the Ricky Lake version. He played Ricky Lake's mom.
Ricky Lake became a chat show host.
That's right.
Is that a she?
And then later on, a tourist attraction, which was nice.
I think I've taken a boat. No, let's not pursue that image.
Mom, we're going up to Ricky Lake. Do you want anything? But no, I was going to say was that Mark Benson, that whole thing was, it's just beautifully. It was such it's a simple, little, simplistic gag, wasn't it?
Yes, and he's got this hesitation in this character. He sort of breathes in while he's trying to speak out.
Yeah.
Every sentence starts like that.
Yeah.
And yes, I was just looking at some of the things he's done. Shakespeare and Hathaway, Private Investigators. Ratburger, Tracy Ullman's Show. Oh, he plays Max DeLacy in Scoop, so I like him even more. And Lacey spelled with an E like mine.
Well, I say to do Hairspray, the role required him to sing and dance. So you kind of think, he's no slouch in that sense.
No, he's obviously an all-rounder, as they say.
I've got to say, for me, and this is, really something that, I want your opinion on as well. Because I sort of know this reasonably well and have seen it and watched it for pleasure. The cast for me, they're a really tight cast. And I did, when I was watching the first few scenes, and I thought, I bet they have a lot of fun making this. And I went onto YouTube and had a look at early doors bloopers. And believe it or not, it was from series 2, and it was exactly that episode that we were watching, and I saw all the outtakes for this, and I can confirm they do have a lot of fun. But great casting for me. What were your thoughts?
Well, they're English comedy character actors, aren't they? I'm not brilliant with names, never have been, but I know them, a lot of them.
Yeah.
But it depends on. You've already referenced Mark Benson's versatility. I guess there aren't enough shows quite like this, unless I might lump in Coronation Street, Corrie, this soap opera, which I've seen all of 2 episodes in 50 years or whatever, but I know enough to know it's got that sort of northern humour to it.
You're a big fan then, are you?
Seeing the second episode, that's lifetime commitment.
Wow.
You know me. I know. I pushed the boat out. Yeah. I know. I don't know where that hour went.
The guy who plays Ken, who you're right, you'll have seen him in loads and loads. He's been in everything from Minder, Downton Abbey. Do you remember GBH, Alan Bleasdale's GBH? Did you ever watch that with Michael Palin and?
No, I remember it being around. I don't think I ever saw it.
Oh, it was massive at the time, that was. But he was in that as well. But he's actually been in Corrie, John Henshaw, the guy who plays Ken, the landlord.
Right.
And you're right. They could slot, the whole cast could slot into Corrie in a heartbeat, couldn't they? There's no question in that sense. And I think, for me, part of it is the acting chops. I mean, it's the believability of not only the situation that they find themselves in, because it is all very low key. It is sort of conversational, low key, just chatting. But it still has that. I don't know. There's more to it than just people sitting there chatting in a way. Did you find that or not?
Yeah. Well, the second time through, I started to see the cleverness of the structure of it, which doesn't sound very sexy, but actually, we wear a more analytical hat generally when we're putting a show on the slab for a second time, a particular episode, TV, radio, or internet-based, whatever. And I started to see, little callbacks and little subtleties sewn in, and I huge respect for the way it's written. It doesn't have me roaring with laughter, but it does sort of shake the shoulders every now and again when you least expect it, I find as well. So a lot of respect for it. I wanted to love it more. It's not my natural territory, but it's part of the richness of the British comedy culture, and it's earned its place there.
One of the clever things that I thought they used to great effect was, and I talked about Downton Abbey that John Henshaw had been in, and I wonder whether probably the reference would, because Downton Abbey wouldn't have been, may not have even been conceived when this was put together. Oh, and by the way, the time scale, you're right, this was about 2004, wasn't it, this, I think? Was it 2004? Yeah. Whereas the royal family, believe it or not, went from 98 to 2012.
Right, so you said it might have straddled it, as it were.
I think in a major way it straddled it, really. Yeah, but without Downton Abbey having been conceived even at this time, I wonder if the reference would have been upstairs, downstairs, which was huge at the time. So you've got this double thing going on where you've got all the activity downstairs, and then Ken's mother and her cleaner Winnie upstairs chatting about that. I thought it was very clever. Do you think that was kind of, it was a good counterpoint to the downstairs activity?
Oh yeah. And I imagine if I saw it a third time, there's even more to appreciate out of that. It's not going to happen, you know me, because life rolls on. But it merits a good viewing. What are you laughing at?
I was just thinking of the scene. I think one of the first scenes upstairs was Winnie the cleaner is and of course you see, I know this because I've seen other episodes, but the joke is that there's absolutely, Ken's mom is completely and utterly able-bodied, and there is, apart from that she has a puff on her asthma inhaler from time to time, but there is absolutely no reason why she should have a cleaner and why she shouldn't be cleaning that upstairs flat. But and Winnie knows that, her cleaner knows that. But there's a lovely, and I think this is what the subtlety of the throwaway stuff that they didn't overplay at all. But Winnie the cleaner is vacuuming, and you can see that Ken's mom. He's talking away. She goes, you can't really hear what she's saying over the vacuum cleaner. She switches the vacuum cleaner off. She went, and I followed through. Nobody references it.
No.
I just thought, it's so clever.
Did you also hear where, she's watching telly the whole time, and if you're listening in stereo, it's panned quite hard left, which makes it a bit easier to listen to when all the other dialogue stops between... I've forgotten Ken's mum's character name.
I've got a list of the characters. It's Jean, isn't it? Is it Jean?
Jean, that sounds right. We've got Joan as well. There's so many. I'm very poor at... I've mentioned how poor I am at names anyway, but trying to get a handle on so many characters in one episode, that would normally be a complaint, but I'm inclined to give it a free pass on that because... I've just got to put in the extra work, I think, and I feel that the writers have, so I should too. Jean stops talking to Winnie the cleaner, and suddenly you hear Alan Titchmarsh, isn't it, on the voiceover, and there's something about a cat going to the toilet or something. It's all scatological. Maybe the cat followed through as well. But it's just thrown away. It reminded me of something I did. I think I've told the story about an EastEnders putting a song on. But hey, so I mean, and I know what you do as a sound engineer, having been in that in numerous dubs for that kind of thing. You start with where you want to end up, which sounds all back to front, of course. But
yeah,
you put the gag where you want it. So they'll have found the Alan Titchmarsh cat going to the toilet line or whatever it is. And then they work backwards, they back time it, and you know, digital editing being what it is, it's so much easier than it would have been in the past.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because when I was watching the outtakes for that episode, one of the outtakes was Winnie, the actress Joan Kempson, who was supposed to be vacuuming, accidentally pressed the vacuum button and switched it on.
So it goes on.
And she went, "Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that." And then, because she realised, as you said, it's all put in post, isn't it? The vacuum and the timing.
Yeah, but the odd thing there is that it's even plugged in and switched on. But if you can see the plug socket, then you have to do that, I suppose.
Maybe. Who knows?
That's getting nanaracky.
Well, maybe they plugged it in to record it to get the up sound for it. Maybe
Might have done, and forgot to unplug it, whatever.
Yeah,
but
because you get the atmos.
Happen.
You get the atmos of the set as well, don't you? If you want to be really anaraki about it, I suppose.
And I do, of course. Yeah.
It's interesting you say as well about the size of the cast, because having watched it again, having watched it watch it for enjoyment, whatever we say, watch it as a punter, whatever you want to say. If you'd have said to me, was it a big cast? I'd say, no. Only when I came to sort of detail for the notes here, who was who and who was playing whom, that you think, actually, it is quite a big cast, isn't it, really? When you think there are only 3 sets and they never move off any of those 3 sets, that is quite a big cast, really.
I guess, for normal folk like you, serialists who will stick with the series, that all falls into place anyway, which is probably why you didn't have any difficulty with it, apart from the fact that no one seems to struggle with names and faces as much as I do. I'd struggle to keep up with a monologue, I think. So who's that person? Tell me again.
I know what you mean, but it is, but like you say, if you're new to it, I mean, I must admit, I some of the character names I know, but certainly not the actors and actresses. I'm not really so clear on. Should you have another clip? Should you have another?
Yes, the other clip, indeed.
The other clip, because my 2 favourite characters of the whole show are featured in the second clip that we're going to play for you. 2 police officers, 2 cops, Phil and Nige, turn up at the back door.
Sounds like a double act, and they are a double act.
They are a double act, aren't they? And they've settled in in the back kitchen for a one's had a Coke and one's had a pint. So obviously one's driving the police car that shift, which I thought was cool.
I wouldn't be sure it was the right way around, knowing what they're like.
No, quite right. The lovely thing is that you can tell from the body language that this isn't a new occurrence, is it? This is something that happens on a regular basis. You can tell that, that.
Yeah.
But Ken, the landlord, tells them that things aren't going too well for the pub.
You want after time every night this week?
Well, if it's okay. The thing is, I sell more beer after I've rung that bell than I do before. It's like a starting pistol to this lot in here. If I closed on time, I'd be broke.
You want to think yourself lucky, Ken. Landlord of the Oak's just been telling us that the brewery said if he didn't increase his takings, it might be closed down.
I know.
How do you know?
Because they're up to me and said the same thing. I've been on to the area manager today.
Bloody hell. You told punters?
I haven't told anybody yet. I haven't got the heart.
It's the not knowing, though, isn't it?
It is.
Is that how they've left it?
Well, pretty much.
That's bloody disgusting, that. You'd rather know, wouldn't you? You need to make plans one way or the other. It's not too much to ask, is it? You've every right to know, is this place closing or not? I bet you're feeling it now, Ken.
Oh, yeah.
And it would have to be here in the Oak, our 2 favourite boozers.
Just our luck, this is.
Well, we'll have to see what can be done, Ken.
Well, what do you mean? Have you fellas got any influence there?
Even if we had, Ken, we couldn't say.
Oh, fair enough, lads.
Yeah, and even if we did have any influence, for you or the Oak, we'd have to remain completely impartial. You know what I'm saying, don't you, Ken?
A large whiskey.
Please, Ken.
Oh, this is a bit bit panto-ish, and I don't mean that as an insult. They sort of come as a pair, like those book clubs where you used to have 2 books for the price of 1 or whatever. And the other thing we should say, they don't appear to necessarily be in the first flush of youth or the picture of health, either of them particularly. Although given their drinking regime at work, never mind when they're off duty, perhaps that's not so surprising. Now, here's the thing, me and my memory and Memory for Faces. Do you remember the series Cops drama series?
The American one?
No, very much a British affair. I'm trying to remember that Tony, what's his name? Anyway, I thought John Henshaw was in that, but I appear to be misremembering that. I'll have to do more digging in my own time.
I was going to say, I mean, that is particular. I mean, I'm not really so sure about Phil Mealey, but Craig Cash, having worked on The Royal Family and been an integral part of that is all about dialogue, isn't it? Really, the majority of it.
It's not very energetic, is it? There's no car chases. To come back to my earlier point, yeah.
So I mean, dialogue is king in this kind of comedy, which I like. I mean, I'm not sure how you get on with it, but I kind of like that. I like being clever with words and being clever with phrasing and that kind of stuff. And I mean, the fact that the 2 cops have adopted the catchphrase of the time, crime won't crack itself, crime can't crack itself. Every time they leave, they go, well, we've got to go, Ken, crime can't crack itself. And they've adopted the advertising campaign of the time. There were a lot of references of the time, don't you think? Did you notice there were was it Tommy was going off on one, talking about Big Brother, right. and the Pele ad, and he said, I don't want him talking about erectile dysfunction. Yeah. I want him talking about football, that kind of. There were a lot of kind of.
Yeah, it lost me a bit when they were talking about upstairs and downstairs, as in the bus, and that was tied in with the Pele thing and the so-called erectile dysfunction thing. He was doing ads at the time, wasn't he?
Yeah.
To come back to my earlier point, I have confirmed that Mr. Henshaw was in, the series was called The Cops, not Cops.
Okay.
And the reason I was asking was because I remember him saying in publicity around that at the time that he used to be a dustman, which of course is a dream when you're trying to sell the grittiness of a series like that. And a lovely little story. And then apparently he was asked by someone from the Radio Times or wherever the interview was, have you got any photos of you as a dustman? He said, well, no, we didn't take a photographer with us on the dust cart. Great comeback.
Yeah.
Because they're thinking in showbiz terms. Well, surely you had a photographer with you as you went around.
Yes, this is me at work. I took a photo of myself while I was emptying the bins at number 46 Acacia Avenue. It doesn't happen really.
Not really, no. Sadly. That would be good to see.
Funny. I've got to mention, I was saying about how good they are with words. And somebody had put, it's not in this episode, but somebody had put online, they said they thought the greatest exchange in the entire 2 series was when Jean asked, that's Ken's mom, Jean, asked about what happened to Tanya's husband. There's a bit of sexual chemistry, isn't it, with the girl, Tanya and Ken, whatever. Yes. And they said, what happened to Tanya's husband? And Winnie the cleaner said, she came home one day and found him dead on the conservatory floor. And Jean said, really? She's got a conservatory.
It's so low key you could miss it, couldn't you? They throw away the gems.
Observational stuff, isn't it, all the while? But,
yeah. But there's other stuff. I mean, yes, it's hugely about words, but there's subplots, mini subplots. Like, I won't spoil it all, but, partly, in fact, it's in the publicity looking on imdb.com, so it must have been in the billings at the time, about fake notes, lovely gags there, which I won't spoil, but they crop up again. So it's a comedy callback, very subtle. And I have to confess, I can't have been watching properly the first time because I think I missed 1 or 2 of these things. And just so so underplayed. And I know sometimes, just the other week, I was complaining about something being underplayed. Was that Ramesh Ranganathan?
Yeah.
That felt thrown away in a way that this doesn't. This suits being underplayed. And I honestly don't know, without giving it a whole, 3 years study on a PhD, why one works for me and not the other. And maybe even if I studied it for 3 years, I wouldn't understand it. It's one of those random chicken things.
Curiously, both set in pubs as well.
That as well, yeah, that's
weird,
interesting. That is interesting, yeah.
Because I think it does lend itself to a relaxed environment, doesn't it? It's a relaxed. Very often, I know it doesn't have to be in a pub. I mean, things do get quite fractious at times. But if you're writing dialogue-based stuff, then a pub is great because people are sat around. They're usually enjoying themselves. They've had a few drinks. It's quite calm. They'll be probably more candid and more honest than they would normally. You would think if you were going to write and put words into their mouth. I think that to me, that's why it kind of works. And in an odd way, what he's created, what they've created, Phil Mealey and Craig Cash, what they've created, this kind of like this. They're almost like their own family, aren't they? They're a, there's a warmth between them. Even Tommy, the miserable git in the corner. There's they still like him, and he's still part of the family, and in that kind of way that if it was your own family, you wouldn't mind if they were miserable. And I kind of like the way they've created that tapestry of characters that interlock. I think it's quite nice, really. But here's a killer question for you then: would you watch another episode?
Well, after watching this one the first time. We should credit another Phil, by the way, before we forget and get the lawyers on us. Phil McIntyre Television is the production company.
Yeah, interesting fella. He does a lot of theatre stuff. Do you know he's the guy behind the Only Fools and Horses theatre adaptation that we talked about a little while ago? But yeah, sorry, go on. So just remind me why after the first viewing, what was it you didn't like? The first viewing?
I didn't like anything. I think I just felt I don't recognise these characters. I'm a southerner, namby-pamby southerner, I know. Northern working class, I couldn't latch into it. I couldn't get a handle on it. And then I saw the beauty of the structure of it and the classiness of the writing. And the second time through, and the scales fell from my eyes. That doesn't mean I've got to try and answer your question, haven't I? I would watch another one, but I don't think I'm ever going to fall in love with it. But I certainly respect it, and for that reason, I've got 2 scores initially, or how I would have been after the first viewing, and then the second viewing. Shall we go seamlessly into score mode?
Yeah, can I just mention as well, because I know we have people that listen to the podcast outside of the UK, and we're always fascinated and interested in your opinions as well, because you're outside the UK. Even if you're from the UK originally, but you're listening outside the UK, how would you think this? Because we talked about accents and stuff like that. You're listening to those clips. How would it play out where you are? Is an interesting thing. If you want to get in touch and let us know about that, more than happy. You can do it on. We'll give you all the details at the end of the podcast, but you can do it on Twitter and Facebook or whatever. But if you are listening outside the UK, what are your thoughts? Difficult to understand, difficult to follow, something that you can connect with or not? I'm just curious about that one, really. But yeah, should we do the scores?
Shall I go first?
Oh, go on then.
It. Well, I would have given it 2.5. I actually decided that at the end of the first viewing. I'm only going to creep up, I think, to a 3 in terms of enjoyment factor. But if it comes to a more sort of technical academic thing, I may even theoretically have gone up another notch or half notch. But certainly it's a 3 out of 5 from me. So appreciated it. Didn't massively love it, but it certainly respected, as I say.
Well, I'm going to give it a 4.5.
Nummy.
Yeah.
I had no idea you were that warm towards
it. I must admit, and I've got to go back, and I have to say this is one of these. This is out of my old collection that I've got digitized. That I think I've got the DVDs behind me on the bookcase actually. And the only link I could put in the description for this is on Amazon to buy it on DVD. But seriously, honestly, if you've had an inkling of enjoying this, I think it's well worth going. I think it's not very much actually for the 2 series. I think they're about £13 or something like that.
Cheap as chips.
But you can't. How sad is that? That something of such class, in my opinion, in terms of the writing, characterisation, acting, and plot. I mean, I couldn't really fault it in terms of what it does and what it is. And you can't see it anywhere. You can't even get it on Amazon, or you can't even buy an episode on YouTube or anything like that. I think that is really sad, isn't it? I don't think it's been overlooked because of when it was made. I don't know. 7.5 out of 10 then for Early Doors, which brings us nicely to our homework for next time.
Yes, this is someone been on the list for ages. That's a list I'm making of shows I want to put on the slab. A comedian by the name of Tom Wrigglesworth, and I came to him via BBC Radio 4. He's had he had a number of series and different shows on there. One I'm a little more familiar with is, was it Family Hang-Ups? Is that what it's called?
Hang-Ups, I think it was just called, wasn't it?
Just Hang-Ups.
Tom Wrigglesworth's Hang-Ups, yeah.
Very clever. That's a phone conversation with his mum and dad, or fictitious mum and dad. We must do that another time. But hey, there's so much wonderful comedy out there. I thought I would push the boat out a bit and put on the slab a Tom Wrigglesworth show I hadn't heard before. Don't think I have. So it's Tom Wrigglesworth's Open Letters.
Okay.
And each show is an open letter to a different organisation, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the one I've plumped for is Series 1, Episode 4. This is Radio 4. Series 1, Episode 4. And the appeal was to see what he made of estate agents. There are certain cultural attachments and assumptions, I suppose, rightly or wrongly made about estate agents. I just wanted to see what he made of them in his open letter.
Yeah, so that's for next week. Okay. If you've enjoyed the Comedy Slab podcast, don't forget we're available all over the place. So we're on Spreaker, Stitcher, iHeart Radio, you name it. Put in @Comedy Slab and you will find us. Okay, what was I going to do? Say, do recommend us to friends, family, enemies, religious figureheads, anyone you can think of. I don't know, skippers, people who walk, joggers. Just pass on the message and don't let them pass on the Comedy Slab because it's too good to miss. And a nice generous star rating, ideally 5 stars, please, on iTunes / Apple Podcasts will be hugely appreciated. On Twitter, we are @Comedy Slab, and we have a Facebook page, same handle as well. So like the latter and follow us on the former, please. Until next time, I've just noticed, look down here, so I've got to dash off and I've got to go and wash my plums. I'm not going to add anything to that. They're a great comedy fruit, aren't they? Do you want one? That was hideous.